I have these weird neighbors. There's a guy that lives across the hall, and he lives with his wife. He's a somewhat older guy, and he seems like he's pretty legit, like nothing too crazy about him. Friendly, get along fine. Once in a while we encounter each other unavoidably outside or whatever and talk about whatever, and it's all good. But then the other day he comes and he knocks on my door. I open it up and he says, "Can I borrow $1.50?" And I'm thinking, all right, what the heck am I dealing with here? Like, this is just weird. Like, what grown man is going to go ask his neighbor if there's a way he can borrow $1.50? Like, what kind of ghetto kind of a thing do we have happening here? So, you know, I'm like, I don't really have cash in my pocket right now, but I guess I got some quarters laying over there on the table that you can have. But that's pretty weird, you know? And then I hear about another guy who lives across the street in a different building. He's an old guy, like always sits out there waving to everybody. Kind of weird. Seems he kind of gives off the vibe of being like pretty helpless. Like the building across the street is like a subsidized housing kind of an apartment, usually for people that are old or, you know, disabled or something of that nature. So this guy Joe, he lives across the way, and he's sitting out there all the time on his tricycle, like a bike with 3 wheels for an adult. And I never really see him like ride the trike anywhere. Like, usually he just sits outside there on it and waves at people while he smokes. And you know, like, he seems kind of innocent and just like a little bit weird and a little bit frail and vulnerable kind of. But then apparently somebody gave him another trike so he'd have it like a gift or something. And then other people were trying to scam this old dude to, like, I don't know, like give him some kind of drugs or something and then steal his bike. And like, he's just getting sucked up in this. I don't know. Like, it's weird. It's weird that, like, there's all these people hanging around my neighborhood here that are just apparently missing a screw. And, you know, the nice thing about living in Helena, Montana is the most ghetto kind of an area that you can live in is still not a dangerous area, really. Like, people aren't gonna cause you trouble. It's nothing like that. Like, I'd be fine to go outside and go for a walk in the middle of the night and I wouldn't have to look over my shoulder. It's just, you kind of start to realize, like, people are like not exactly operating with all their faculties around here. And I think about my plans imminently to move out and go to a different place. And that kind of thing, that weird stuff I hear about, it really kind of makes me think, you know, this is a good time to be leaving. And I got a note on the door and it says this property has been purchased by a different property management company. And from what I have heard from other residents, they intend to increase the rent to what they deem to be market average price, which is fine because I'm not going to be there to see any of this. But when you live in an apartment which is not very well maintained, you know, like it's like pulling teeth to get them to fix a leaking faucet or something like that. It's a kind of a place where, you know, like no one's going to be taking a weed whacker to the overgrown grass anytime soon. Like they'll mow the low quality lawn once in a while, but the weeds are still growing in the cracks and probably growing in the street here and there. And, you know, it's not the worst neighborhood you could ever live in, but it's not all that great, you know, and there's not a whole heck of a lot of pride on the part of anyone maintaining the property either. I was out there earlier and one of the guys came out and like he's just like kind of seems like he's not doing very well. Like when you talk to him, it's hard to like make out what he's saying. Like it just seems like he's like looking all crazy. And he's like, oh no, I lost my dentures, like my teeth. I lost them, like they're in the grass somewhere. I don't know where they're at. Like, okay. So somewhere, I guess, in the grass around the grounds, there's like some dude's set of fake teeth that he lost, I guess. Like these are just weird conversations. Like you don't really want to be having with your neighbors. And it kind of puts into perspective why my life has been a rather isolating one here in Montana, because there's a lot of nice folks around, but sometimes you get yourself into an ecosystem of people that are not exactly cream of the crop folks. And it's no disrespect to anybody, but when you're stuck in that environment and you don't really have any normal people to talk to, like they're either like crazy people that are like off the rails because they're borderline like flirting with homelessness, or they're on some kind of drugs, or they're, you know, like just old and broken and kind of languishing there. Yeah, like there's those people around, and then there's like on the other side of it, there's like people that are, you know, like egotistical and obsessed with their job, making $500,000 a year, and they're, you know, all addicted to the money making and career building ladder. It's like ditch to ditch, you know. But then I think about all the other stuff that's kind of weird that people do, like religious beliefs and political beliefs and all the stuff that just people go down the rabbit hole. They get sucked into it, and it's really hard to connect with people because people identify as something. You know, like the conservatives like to say, you know, it's stupid that the gender fluid people will say they identify as a gender that they're not, or something like that, right? But the real crazy thing is that everybody seems like they identify as something that they're not. Like they identify as a Trump supporter, or they identify as a, you know, loyalist of some particular mantra or some particular thing that they're into, and like they just define themselves by it. And that gets kind of old. But I do hope that when I go to a new place, move down to Arkansas, as we're now just 1 day out from this big move, that I can, you know, find some new connections with people that are humble and modest and unpretentious and respectable. And also, you know, not bottom of the barrel, not weird or unaccomplished either. Just normal people who are grounded, and the kind of folks who you look at and think, you know, I would like to be more like that person. That's kind of, you know, the sort of folks I'm hoping to find and spend time with and be around. And I think it's definitely possible, but I also think it's really useful though to get out of the ecosystem of all the people that tend to surround you when it feels like you're just like you're not really making connections and you're not really making progress and you're kind of just stuck in a rut. Sometimes it's because people have a way of making other people sort of get stuck in the places where they're stuck until you walk away from all of those stuck people and say, you know what, I'm going to just take a different path and I'm going to go do my own thing. And, you know, everyone else's weird demons and problems and addictions and craziness and ego and stuff is just not going to be my problem anymore. You know, if my neighbor can't find his lower set of dentures because somehow he went outside and lost them in the grass, that's not going to be my problem. And the guy across the hall who thinks he's going to bum $1.50 off his neighbor so he can get a discounted pack of cigarettes or something, well, he ain't going to be my problem. And my boss who wants to spend all of his time talking about Donald Trump and cryptocurrency is not going to be my problem. And you know what? I'm not going to probably have a lot of problems. But if I do, at least I will have the privilege of knowing that they are my problems and not the problems of other people, which they have just projected into my space, because that is what people tend to do. I found out today that my boss, the guy who I used to work for a long time, he took another job somewhere else. So he'll be leaving Montana as well as I, though I will not be working for him and I will not be following him. He will be choosing his own path. And I do not particularly consider that to be my concern. I do think, though, it's interesting how when you stay in one place, people will say, you know, you should stay there. You should just, you know, continue to be there for me or whatever, you know. But then those people, when they decide that they want to move on, like they don't give anyone else consideration. They just proceed to do what it is that they want to do, you know. And so you have to do what's right for you, you know, because no matter how much people may say, oh, well, you know, you should, you know, maintain the status quo and keep on being what you've always been and keep on hanging with the friends you've hung out with before and keep on doing the same job you've done for years and, you know, just don't rock the boat. Well, those people are also going to protect their interests. And if you don't protect yours, then you'll be left holding the bag when the pump and dump happens and everyone else sells and you're left with what's left, you know? So always do what is right for you. Don't make the mistake of staying in one place too long or allowing the guidance of others to cause you to hesitate. It's been another day of just kind of packing up more of the tail end of stuff that I need to get packed up so that I'm ready to move. And I think I'm pretty much all packed up now. I've been continuing to take videos and photos of places around town so that I can remember them and probably put the videos together into one of those digital picture frames so I can set it up on the shelf or on a desk or something and continue to remember all the old familiar places. I've thought when you're going through change, it's nice to be able to fall back on some of those familiar games that you like to play, just because, you know, like everything can be all turned upside down, and most of my stuff's all packed up in boxes and thinking about hitting the road, and it's kind of exciting and it's a new adventure, but then it's also that jarring feeling of realizing that, you know, it's a daunting venture into what is kind of the unknown. So it's nice to be able to log into the Elder Scrolls Online and know my house is in the game. They're still there. And all of my little collectibles and all of the stuff that I like to do in the game, it's still there, you know? That is kind of comforting, isn't it? Maybe that's one of the best things about gaming, that as long as we keep logging in, we never grow old in these games, and we never really lose the ability to do the things that we've always done. Looks like there's a big old Oblivion Gate deal starting to happen there, but I don't see any other players there, and I can't do it by myself, so probably better get out of here before it disturbs my peace too much. In any case, you know, I hope you're having a great time wherever you find yourself, and till next time, thanks so much for watching.